It is time for another adventure, and this time it's taking us to Australia. We're starting here in Sydney, where we'll be exploring the finest fire cooking the city has to offer. From here, we have an ambitious road trip planned ahead of us, taking us all the way north to Cairns, Queensland. From there, we'll be flying back down south to Melbourne to explore the finest wineries this region has to offer. Then it's time to hit up the airplane once more, taking us west to Perth, where I'll be reunited with Evan Hayter, a former sous chef of mine, but now an aspiring chef here in Australia, and he's gonna help us cook up a storm for the No Worries BBQ book. But first, we'll be visiting Sydney, and what better place to kick off this insane fire cooking trip than at one of the world's most famous butcher shops. Finally, a long-lived dream, I'm here in Sydney at Victor Churchill, world-known butcher shop. We're going to be meeting with Anthony. He's the fourth generation of the butcher family. Currently owns the place. We're going to dive in and get some meat. So my first question for you is, how come I, as a Dutchman, know of the existence of Victor Churchill? What's the secret behind your success?
Yeah, I think the success of Victor Churchill and the uniqueness of Victor Churchill comes down to sort of three things. It's the quality of the product that we sell downstairs, and within Victor Churchill, it's the service that we offer, and obviously the design of the store is jaw-droppingly beautiful, and we combine those three things and we create an amazing and unique experience unlike anything in the world. Fundamentally, there's three things that make up a quintessential Australian barbecue. It's a steak of any sort, so a T-bone or Scotch fillet or a rump. Sausages, the snags, has to be on every single Australian barbecue. And, you know, a lamb chop of some sort, whether it's a lamb cutlet or a lamb loin chops. And obviously beer, you know? You have to have beer always, you know? Like, it's not an Australian barbecue unless there's beer. We also have another business, Vic's Meat Market, where sort of low and slow is a big theme at that butcher shop. We've got a beautiful big Yoda smoker there, and you know, we're servicing those customers because that sort of style of barbecuing is becoming really popular in Australia.
Packed with some bacon for later, we made a quick stop for lunch at the food outlet of Victor Churchill's brother, Vic's Meat. After enjoying a tasty barbecue platter, we visited Sydney's famous fish market with its enormous lobsters, crabs, and cheesy flame-grilled scallops. But this day, we're gonna work with another kind of monstrous animal from the Australian waters. We were invited by the guys of Black Bear Barbecue, who had a little surprise for us. Their outdoor restaurant in Moore Park was the perfect location for our first barbecue adventure in Australia. Today we're hanging out with the guys from Black Bear. I've been following these dudes on Instagram for a while and they're rocking it here in Australia. I've texted them up front, said I had a wish for when I came to Australia, and that's to cook a whole crocodile in one of their smokers. They honored that wish, and today we got a 14-kilo crocodile rubbed and wrapped in bacon, and we're rocking it. So let's find out if it's a tasty dish or not.
Down on Belfast. When you're feeling bad, you're feeling blue. The Belfast blues, honey, bring it home to you. Yeah.
A few hours of drinking beer later, where some beer even made it onto the crock, it was time to get this gnarly looking experiment out of the smoker.
Down on Belfast.
Cherry on there? I just want properly cooked crocodile. It's absolutely delicious. Alright. You think we get some hungry people to feed it to?
Yeah, I think it's going to be some people to feed this to. Absolutely.
Right. Thank you so much for making this happen. It's awesome.
Thanks for coming out. This is absolutely amazing.
Want some crocodile drumstick?
Mississippi, ain't been to Chicago, now Texas too. But I down.
Black Bear gave us the most adventurous welcome, but we had to move on. Next stop, the wood-fired kitchen of Fire Door Restaurant. Famous for its fire door oven and the fine dining dishes they create with its raging fire. Early in the morning, we left Sydney and started our ambitious road trip with the first drive of more than 900 kilometers up north to Brisbane. After some late night snacks, we only got a few hours of sleep before continuing our 600-kilometer journey towards Inju, beef capital of Australia. In Australia, most people live along the coastline. We've been hitting the bigger cities like Sydney and Brisbane to find interesting concepts that use fire in their cooking. In the inlands, which the Australians call the outback, it's a more of a rural setting, and we're going to be hitting that to find some interesting cattle ranches. We started our drive with a quick stop at one of the most Pinterested breakfast places in Brisbane for a quick and light brekkie before hitting the road. Starting up our navigation, it told us we had to drive straight for 500 kilometers before turning right. After a while, we got bored, so I thought it would be fun to check out how good our four-wheel drive rental was off-road. Almost at our destination, the weather turned around. The clear skies filled up with thunderclouds, the roads with water, and the fields with fire. Late in the night, we arrived at Inju, a small town in Queensland. We met up with the cattle farmers in a local restaurant, ordered some steaks and planned our cattle ranch visit for the next day. On our way to the farm, we crossed through incredible landscapes of Australia's outback.
There's a place that I know. People tell you not to go. Yeah, now ain't no right, ain't no wrong. Seems in a place, feeling strong.
We're here at Arcadia Station, one of the bigger cattle ranches of Queensland, Australia, and we're about to be meeting Claude. He is the cattle ranch farmer here, and he's going to show us how he herds his cows. He's not using horses anymore. This is 2018. We're going to be riding this.
Down on Belfast. When you're feeling bad.
Claude, you've shown me around your property, 45,000 acres. You've told me you have about roughly 5,000 to 6,000 cows on property right now. So each cow has how much space?
Roughly that, 5 acres, 5 to 7.
How many staff do you have to run this all?
We run 45,000 acres, 12 months to a year, with a maximum of 3 to 4 staff. Most of the time 3.
That's what they mean with extensive farming then, eh?
Yes.
That's incredible.
Down on Belfast.
Probably a couple of things that set Australian beef apart from other countries. Our animal welfare, our clean green image, our traceability from when they're slaughtered right back to their birth.
Aussie beef, what makes it so great for barbecue?
Flavour. The Aussie beef's good for a barbecue. It's flavour, it's marbling. That's about all.
Mind blown by the sheer size of this extensive farm, Rainier and I went further on our journey. 1,300 kilometers up north, Cairns was waiting for us. We skipped the most beautiful beaches of the Gold Coast, the rainforest and the Great Barrier Reef, because we were heading there to find some crocs and go on a crazy fishing trip.
We have driven 3,000 kilometers in no less than 3.5 days to get where we are today, Cairns, northern Queensland. Within this beautiful surrounding, we're going to be checking out some of the wildlife that lives here. And as you can see around me, we're in a marina, so yes, there's going to be fishing involved as well. Hopefully, we get to catch something big that we can keep and eat, and dinner's on the table tonight.
Together with our fishing guide, we went into the mangroves of Cairns to catch some fishing bait. With enough bait to catch a whale, we were ready to throw out our rods and wait for the first fish to nibble.
Oh yeah, oh shit.
Some tests beforehand and yeah, it's
Well, that's not gonna work.
no.
Oh, baby shark.
Wow. That's different for up here. That's a big silver dart. A silver dart.
We had some awesome catches today. We caught shark and other local species, but unfortunately they were all a bit small, and we do adhere to the wildlife regulations, so it was catch and release and no dinner. But when you're a man in need, there's something special here in Cairns, and it's called Prawn Stars.
Tear down meat, put it on barbecue. Marinated overnight with the blues. I ripped up maniac.
Early in the morning, we flew from Cairns all the way down south to Melbourne.
Got one turn overnight. Smoke that hard.
We got in touch with the laid-back winemakers from the De Bortoli winery, who produce an incredible dark Shiraz called Wood-Fired. They welcomed us with an incredible lunch of probably the best Italian food you can get around.
Smokey Goodness, Lord of the barbecue, let me hear you bring it down.
During this delicious lunch, we were already busy planning dinner. So after dessert, we went to the local butcher who raises his own cattle in his backyard.
Cheers, biggies.
We picked our meats and went straight back to the estate of the De Bortoli family to heat up the ceramic barbecue and get cooking.
Put it in a Bible salad made for two. We all take a lot for sending down you. Smoky Goodness.
We left Cairns and we landed in Melbourne, and boy did we hit the jackpot. We've been hosted by the De Bortoli family that from Holland we know from the Wood-Fired wines. This is Steve, the head winemaker. And Steve, what a paradise we landed in.
Yeah, no, it's a really nice time of year, and spring's fantastic. The greens are incredible. Just check that out. And we're drinking some wood-fired sparkling wine. We sort of probably cheekily refer to it as some dark prosecco for dark places.
Ooh, I like darkness. And we're not only drinking, we are doing some cooking.
Yeah, sure.
What did we hit up?
Yeah, no, it's good. You're doing a few ribs, and you know, Leanne's doing some little loin lamb chops with Asian spicy sauce. So yeah, we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah, let's do another take after we've been drinking some of your wines.
Call me the breeze. I keep blowing down that road. Yeah, they call me the breeze on that load. I keep blowing down that road. I ain't got me nobody, but I am carrying me no load.
What an incredible hospitality we experienced at the De Bortoli's wine estate and his family. After our ambitious road trip and adventures in Cairns, this was luxury in its purest form. To stay in this hedonistic heaven, we headed up to Igni, a fine dining restaurant near Melbourne by the creative mind of chef Aaron Turner.
Fine dining chefs from around the world are rediscovering the art of cooking on open fire. Here at Igni, they combine that skill with the use of local and seasonal products. Let's go in and see how they roll.
Instead of talking about the incredible tastes we've experienced, let's just throw it in your face. Still full of the mind-blowing food we've had at Igni, we hit the hay, so we'd be ready for a cool brekkie meetup. The next morning we met up for breakfast with Lance Rosen, owner of Big Boy Barbecue and writer of the world-renowned book The Temples of Barbecue. I always love to hang out, share experiences and stories with other people who really appreciate the art of fire cooking. Lance took us to the Praran Market, praised to be the food lovers market in Melbourne. He showed us around and we met up with the guys from Gary's Quality Meats to learn everything about the finest Australian meat cuts. In the afternoon we'd fly to Perth, but of course we couldn't leave Melbourne behind without first having a proper lunch. So we went to the Q Club, a combination of a barbecue store, cafe, bar and cooking school. Here we met up with Pam from Holland and scored some epic smashed burgers. From Melbourne we flew all the way to Perth. Here we met up with Remco, the photographer who makes all the tasty pictures of the Smokey Goodness books. After some quick and very delicious bites in Perth, we went down to the southwest point of Australia, Margaret River, an area known for their wineries and passion for food. Talking about food, we almost hit some on our way. We arrived at Aremia Winery and Restaurant, where my good friend Evan and the restaurant manager Wouter welcomed us as our hosts for the last days of our trip. Next morning, we got up early, worked out our plan for the recipes, and went on a road trip through the area for some breakfast.
Fuck off!
Sightseeing, and of course, shopping for ingredients.
I want you to rock my baby. I caught one. Rock me all night long. I want you to rock me so easy, honey, Lord. You know I got a mind.
With all the groceries in the bags, we fired up the grills and went on a cooking spree for the recipes of the No Worries BBQ book.
Take that meat, put it on barbecue. Marinated overnight with the blues. I ripped up maniac, all just for you. Smoke that one turn overnight.
I really like to shake it and hustle it because it's good for the festival.
We ought to taste nice. Smokey goodness, smoky goodness, smoky goodness, smoky goodness, smoky goodness, Lord of the barbecue. Let me hear you bring it down.
Yeah, that's my true companion by my side. And he's been watching me while I slow braised these lamb shanks on the Aussie barbecue. And in around 3 to 4 hours, they moistened up, they tenderized, and they build a lot of flavor. And we're going to be serving that with a creamy goat cheese polenta. And we used some salt bush, which is a local herb here in Australia. And you're just going to be replacing that with sage, so no worries, we got you covered.
We all take a lot for sending down you. Smoky goodness, smoky goodness, smoky goodness, smoky goodness, smoky goodness, Lord of the barbecue. Let me hear you touch your nose.
Fighting to get the last rays of sunlight for the photography, we kicked it up a notch.
Smoky goodness, smoky goodness, smoky goodness, smoky goodness.
Jump now, Skippy.
Goodness, Lord of the barbecue. Take me home, boys. Smoky goodness, smoky goodness, smoky goodness, smoky goodness, smoky goodness, Lord of the barbecue.
After a long day of cooking and shooting the recipe photos, we finally sat down with the crew of Arimia to enjoy some great glasses of their wine. Evan had a great surprise for us, a real bush tucker experience. This night, we'd be cooking a whole kangaroo, indigenous style. We headed up to the farm where we got welcomed by Yoda of Vervoor Food. They are a young crew of creative chefs who are specialized in the old cooking techniques of Western Australia. They arranged some kangaroos, or roos as they call them here, so we just had to light up a fire and get this cooking going. We found a really cool spot next to a lake, filled with huge ass marrons, a kind of sweetwater lobster. So we threw out our nets, cracked open a beer or two, and waited for them to bite the bait.
Tonight is a very special evening because we have Yoda here from Vervoor Food, and what he does is a showcase of how the Aboriginals used to cook. So we've been cooking kangaroo tails, a whole kangaroo, we've been catching marron, which is kind of like a local sweet water lobster. Everything's been cooked on the fire and we've been enjoying every bit of it.
There we got him.
Oh, those are big! Local lobster.
The marron.
Marron.
The black marron.
Black marron. Ugh.
Whoa. Look at that.
Look at that lobster!
After this unforgettable night, we began on our last hunt. Not for roos this time, but for trout. So I had to squeeze myself into Evan's wetsuit, which for a food-loving barbecuer was not so easy.
Trying to catch fish, if I can move.
Tucked into this snugly fitted wetsuit and a landing net in hand, I entered a small pond to catch as many trout as I could carry. But instead of catching any, the fish in the pond played games with me and pushed me around the whole damn thing. I wanted to try and drive the fish in a corner, so Reinier dropped his camera and jumped in. Together, we continued our efforts.
Oh yeah, I got it. Yeah.
We're here on the property of Aramia Winery and Restaurant, and the great thing about it is they grow their own trout. So this is rainbow trout we just caught with a net in the pond behind us, and I'm going to be cooking these on the grill. Now it's No Worries BBQ, so I'm going to keep it nice and simple, and we're just going to fill them up with some lemon, some basil, hit them up with some salt and pepper, grill them real hot and fast, and the flavor is going to come from this nutty butter. So it's caramelized butter. I added some macadamia nuts, which are local nuts here from Australia, a little bit of lemon zest, some pepper. That's going to be it. So the flavor of the fish itself will stand out. It's going to be delicious. There's going to be no hassle, no difficulty, no worries.
For the end of this amazing trip, we wanted to light up one last fire at a unique location. We took the big red, put it on a sword, what apparently doesn't make it a swordfish, and rubbed it with some oil and salt. All there was left to do was to grill it on a campfire on top of the cliffs overlooking the ocean. The final snack of this trip, shrimps on the barbie, or prawns, as the Queen would say. To end this journey on a place like this, with some wine, good friends, and amazing food, truly feels like living the dream.
Our journey through Australia is about to come to an end, and what an epic road trip it was. Reinier and I covered in a mere 2.5 weeks what most backpackers do in a full year. Through an ambitious road trip, we hit every corner of this massive country, and through the eyes of its farmers, producers and chefs, we've perceived the local food culture. We've gone in depth of the current standing of the Aussie barbecue scene, and we have taken all that insight and knowledge and we'll be taking that home to conclude it into a book called No Worries BBQ.